Hello, welcome. All right. So I know for the past few streams we've been doing the VRC Armory stuff for quite a while. But today we're gonna pause on that a little bit. It has some testing that needs to be done with a large group of people, and my scheduling for that is Sundays. And well, it's taken me a while to get my Sundays accessible for it, but yeah, that should work perfectly fine to get that done. But in the meantime, welcome, Lumilight. Yeah, so I actually have a bit of a head start on this because I actually was doing this the other day as like I need something to get my mind off of the work stuff I was doing and the likes. But yeah, so this should be a relatively straightforward project. Let's hope. Fortunately, Unity actually makes vehicles very simple to do, and not actually that bad for VR chat. The difficulty in vehicles comes down to fine-tuning them, because there's all right settings, and then there's the best settings, and that comes down to preference. The real difficulty we're going to have for VR chat specifically is control scheme. What I'm thinking, and correct me if you think this is a horrendous idea, but what I'm thinking is we'll have two controllers essentially that you pick up in the vehicle. One of them is your it's just kind of like visuals for while you're in the vehicle, but one of them, like your right one, you click and it goes forward, the left one you click and it goes backwards. If you click both of them, it brakes, and the right joystick on the controller will turn the vehicle left and right. That will be the easiest implementation of controls that I can do. There are certainly other options for like a steering wheel and likes, but it'll take a little bit to fiddle with that. It's certainly an option, but we'll get there eventually. My idea with this one is this is a quick project that I can have probably a relatively finished, well, golf cart, I guess, by the end of stream. Have that up on Patreon for people to play around with, and if people are really interested in it, then I can refine it going forward. I'm always interested in drinking more water. Highly recommended. It's good stuff. I will gladly be a water shill for the rest of my life. Hey, Big Water, can you I will take some sponsorship money for that. Alright, so let's just take a look at the vehicle itself. So we have a rigid body with a mass of 1,000. So that's just 1 ton. Like, it's a vehicle, it's heavy. That is a good number that I found for playing around with. It has 4 wheel colliders on it. So a wheel collider is basically the thing Unity uses to make wheels function and good. There's a lot of settings here. There's just like a little bit of some offsets that I did in order to line them up with the visuals of this vehicle, but I might adjust that a bit later because we'll be having the visuals for this car match the rotation and steering tilt of these wheel colliders instead of the other way around. But the way I have it set up right now, excuse me, I have 2 arrays for, here, let me just fix that. There we go. I have 2 arrays for different types of wheels. There's the front wheels and the back wheels. What these are is the back ones have full force thrust when you're driving, and the front ones have a percentage of that. So this multiplier here is 0.5. So it's not full wheel drive, but it's also not rear wheel drive. It's about half front drive. And the front wheels are the only ones that get steering. So I have a value here for what the steering value is, and that's just between 1 and -1 for right and left. This acceleration slider here is also just between 1 and -1, and that is handled via, well, you pressing W and S on the keyboard right now. And a lot of this can be cleaned up. I did this pretty quickly the other day. But the actual meat and potatoes of the vehicle is this one box collider. So Unity does a lot of guesstimation for the center of mass and other rigid body features based on the volume of colliders that a rigid body has. And because of that, I don't want the center of mass to be right in the middle of this car, like this golf cart. It wouldn't make sense. We want it to be much lower. So right now, what I'm actually doing is just straight up setting the center of mass to be 0. So it's basically treating the origin down here as its center of mass, which isn't perfect. So I'm going to give it a little customizable gizmo for it, but it certainly gives it a very good little feature set. Well, it gives it a lot better kind of controls when you're going around and doing stuff. So let's just take a quick breakdown of what we got here. So I have the VRC station up here. That's just the one you're in. So if you're in this station, then you are the driver. Congratulations. The wheel collider arrays. A lot of values here that don't need to be public, but these are both settings that are from the device and customizable settings, so I'll have to clean that up. Speed really should just be drive force. That's the force that gets applied while you have your acceleration, which acceleration range is just -1 to 1 right now. And the acceleration range here. Steering range is in degrees, so by default it's -30 to +30. Maybe I'll adjust that so it's less, because that's a lot more than you usually get in a vehicle. But I think it's probably fine. It feels pretty good. Braking is just a bool that's true or false depending on if you are holding spacebar. Steering, current value. Seated, current value as well. So a lot of this is set by code, and you don't need to actually do anything with it. But here we go. Rigid body.center of mass equals vector3.0. This is the first thing that we'll be updating today. So let's go ahead and here, let's have a header up here for references. We'll have a header down here for what will this be? Settings. And we'll have another one for readout. Readout will just be any values that are set via the code itself. Things that don't necessarily need to be how do I put this? Things that don't necessarily need to be customized by the player, but should be seen in the editor during testing. Let's see. Yeah. So multiplier up here. I think first and foremost we can put the drive force at the top. Steering range down here. Acceleration range. We'll put a min of 0 on the front wheel acceleration multiplier, because otherwise you want to always have your front wheels be going inverse momentum of the back ones. Not exactly a great idea on that. Let's see. Here. Kind of annoying that the thumbnail for the going live stream thing on the Discord used the old thumbnail and not the updated one. I'm not entirely sure why it did that, because it's the right URL. It's called Simple Cars VRC Dev Stream. So, not entirely sure how that one happened. Alright, so let's change these to be serialized field private instead of public. This can just be fine like that. Now we go rename these to the format that I like using for these things, for private variables. Is it the Udon Side Adventure one? Oh, okay. Yeah, for me, it still shows up as combat in VRC with the guns and everything in the thumbnail. Just in the Discord embed, the Twitter and Blue Sky one work fine. So maybe it's just a caching thing on my side, but yeah, I don't know. Alright, I'll change these to be that as well. Actually, we're gonna have to fix this because seated is actually set via this car seat. Yeah, probably caching. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So we'll just have a wrapper for that. Could just do that. I'll just have a function for it. That way you can have like sound effects or the likes play when you get into a vehicle. Public void set seated. There we go. So from there, we can go and set these to be serialized field. Seated, steering, acceleration, and braking. These probably can have some better names here, so is seated, steering value, acceleration value, and is braking. Yeah, that should work good. Oh, I guess I haven't shown what the actual code is for running the car. So during fixed update, we just grab the acceleration, which is the current acceleration value, multiplied by drive force. So this is just how strong your engine is, which is just 500 right now. Front acceleration is this value multiplied by front wheel acceleration multiplier, which by default cuts it in half. We then calculate the value for front motor, rear motor, and brakes. So if you're braking, we want the motor values to be 0 and the brake to be the drive force, because we're just having the brakes be as powerful as accelerating. And it's pretty effective. If you're not braking, front motor equals front acceleration, rear motor is acceleration, and brake equals 0. I guess technically, if we wanted to skip out on a calculation that's unnecessary, we don't need to cache front acceleration up here. We can instead just do it here, so that if we're not if we are braking, we don't have to do this this multiplication there. Not that multiplication isn't cheap, like it's very easy for the computer to figure that out, but we just don't need to. I'll move these up here just to set them right. So once we have those, we go through all the front wheels. We set their steering angle to be the current steering value, which is, again, between -30 and 30 by default. Our motor torque to be front motor, brake torque to be brake, and the same thing on the back, but with no steering and with rear motor. Here, I have it set up with very basic desktop controls. So if you're in VR, it just quits. Like, it just doesn't read these. But input move horizontal. So this is just checking your WASD and the likes. Input move vertical is the WS of WASD, while horizontal is A and D. And input jump is space. So these work very well as callbacks for very basic VR chat functions. These are just some calculations I have here. Steering from range is inverse lerp of this value, and acceleration range is inverse lerp of that value. So, right, okay, we're doing center of mass. So let's have a vector 3 here. Center of mass. Default that to vector 3.0. And we're going to use one of my favorite functions, honestly, because it's an editor script thing. On draw gizmos selected. So when this object is clicked on, you can have it draw a bunch of little visuals and stuff. It's something Unity uses everywhere, but the fact that you can use it as well, it makes it really nice. I'm actually going to wrap this in a script and define of Unity editor, so that this isn't included in the compile. As well, we'll do if not compiler udon sharp. So udon sharp will completely ignore this for the udon generation. We don't need this function in there at all. So we'll do vector 3 offset center. So this is going to be the center of mass in world space, or I guess I can just call it world space center. So the value we're storing up here for the center of mass is in local space, so relative to the origin of this game object. Since we're drawing a gizmo, we need that to be in world space. So what we're going to do is we're just going to get transform dot. It's either transform point or inverse transform point. Transforms position from local space to world space. That's the one we want. So transform point, and we're just going to put center of mass in there. What visual do we want for this? Let's just have a little pair of spheres. So gizmos dot draw wire sphere world space center, and 0.25 is a radius. And we'll draw a second one that's not a wire sphere, and we'll give this some different colors. Gizmos dot color equals blue. Let's do cyan. And then we'll do gizmos.color equals I guess I can just make some. I don't need to be generating a new one each time. Wire color equals cyan. And solid color equals. We need this to be something with an alpha value. So 0, 1, 1, 0.25. Solid, not solic. Alright. Now we're not just generating new color struct every time we have an inspector update, which is like more than 60 times a second. It's very, it's a lot. Yeah, now you see there's a little blue sphere down here, and this indicates the center of mass. If we move this around, you'll see we have a lot of stuff happening. If you really want to see how much declaring where the center of mass affects things, I'm going to set it to be far forward. So like over here. Now, if this works as I expect it to, it's effectively just going to completely flip forward. Oh, wait, no, okay. We need to actually set the value. So we have our center of mass. We are still setting it to vector 3, 0 here. We'll just set it there and head back into Unity. All right. So now if I hit play, it should just completely flip on its face. Yep. And it's so low in fact that it's just getting a complete pendulum effect. That's funny. All right. Let's set that back to a reasonable number. Honestly, 0 is pretty good. Actually, I think, yeah, let's move it slightly towards the back. And yeah, let's do that. That puts more force down on the accelerating wheels. Oh yeah, right now I'm just using the VRChat default station prefab. I'll swap this out eventually, but for now that's what it looks like. And that just has the car seat script on it, which just has on station enter and exit setting whether or not they're seated. Because I found it actually kind of annoying to just figure out by default, hey, does this station have a player in it? If so, who? But so I'll just hit play here and we'll see how this works. Okay, so there's a little jump that happens there right at the start. What is happening is that in client sim, the player spawns right at 0, 0 and is then moved elsewhere. So they're actually like clashing with the vehicle. So I'm gonna move it slightly forward. We also see that we're getting a lot of errors for the Udon serializer. That's because I put these things over here, and Udon doesn't actually like that. So I'm just going to move them up here. Yeah. So we're gonna have these stored on here. We don't need to, but I guess we can even just drop that one. Alright. Let's get in the car here. Bonk. I say car, it's very much a glorified golf cart. In fact, this is just a golf cart. Oh yeah, I've got a bit of a drifting issue with the wheel settings that I've got. But I think it could be funny, so I might in fact not fix it. We'll have to see. Yeah, so if we look at the current wheel settings, these are not the default values. So these are some values that someone tried online and said these didn't work. And I put them in and they're working, which is pretty fun. Honestly, a quality vehicle for all those golfing worlds. True, true. Honestly, maybe I'll just copy the forward friction onto the sideways friction. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what these settings do. I don't know what asymptote slip is. I just know that it has to be above 0 and below infinity. very much, these are the kind of things that make it complicated to get that figured out. So we just kind of go around. Do we end up drifting at all? No, we seem to be handling pretty well. Okay. And the last thing I kind of want to try here is I made this loop-de-loop thing, which is kind of hard to see because it only appears on one side at the moment. Does the SDK by default have any double-sided materials? Well, let's just make one quick. Right. Materials. Create material double-sided. And since VRChat has shaders that can do that, let's just go to the VRChat mobile standard light. I'm pretty sure standard light supports that. Do they not? Alright, maybe we'll do the tune standard. So that should give us the, there we go. It looks a little bit odd at the moment, so just give it a what grid should we use? What's this texture? Prototype black DFF. Okay. Well. Sure. Can we set the oh, here it is. It's under the drop down for the main one. There we go. Give it a bit higher value there. And now we're going to drive into it and see what happens. The hope is that we can drive on it. Right. I did not put a collider on it. Whoops. Alright. Mesh collider. Alright. Take two. Alright. We're falling. Clunk. But our center of mass writes us up again. So I think in that case, let's go ahead and scale this down. If I can figure out where it is. There we go. Just slam right into it. We technically did it. I mean, the easy solution for this is just to make the vehicle faster. So I'm gonna quick turn around with that. Hold space to brake. Car, you now accelerate at 1,000 instead of 500. Oh, it's very hard to steer like this. Alright, that also works. Yep, okay, this is particularly hard to control. Oh well. But, yeah, alright. It kind of works. I think both times it was an issue of skill for the controls there. Alright, in that case, I think next what we want to do is... how do we want to go forward? We could set up, honestly, I think one of the big ones is just going to be syncing. We'll have to, excuse me, because this is going to be a bit of a wacky one. I wonder if I should just have my own syncing solution, or if object sync would end up working fine. Object sync is definitely something in VR chat. Because right now we're not syncing anything, so outside of someone being in the station or not, you don't really see what's happening. So, maybe for now it would be fine to just put an object sync on it. We'll leave foreskin mag on remote off. Allow collision ownership transfer. Let's turn that off, because you kind of want to be the owner of the vehicle when you're sitting in it, and you don't want crashing into someone else's vehicle to make you the networking owner of that. Alright, so we're actually going to, when we set seated, we need to claim ownership of this. So, we do local player.set owner? No, we have to do networking.set owner, local player, game object. We want this only a value. Alright, so if you are getting in the seat, take ownership of the game object. I think for now, that's roughly fine. One of the things that I want to do is get these wheels set up. So right now, these wheels are just, whoops, I'm snapping on. These wheels are just some 3D models that are here, whereas this wheel collider is the thing that's actually rotating and doing stuff. So I want to have this wheel mirror onto this wheel object. Let's go ahead and set that up here, actually. Should be easy enough. I could have a dedicated wheel component that handles that. I think that would be the easiest solution, actually. So we'll just do car wheel. Similarly, we will not have any syncing on it. Let's see. Require a component type of wheel collider. That wheel collider wheel, and on start, wheel equals get component wheel collider. Next, we will need a reference. Yep, serialized field for a private transform for the wheel visual. So, fixed update. Wheel. Actually, what do we get? I'm curious what we can do for, because we can get the steering angle. I'm curious about the actual rotation of the wheel. Center friction, rotation speed, radius, center. Okay, so what I'm going to show here is this gizmo for the wheel collider itself has a little line in it that indicates the orientation of that collider. So if I click on this and just move it out slightly, see there's a big slash going through the middle of it. Well, if I go into play mode and this vehicle moves at all, you will see that is the orientation indicator for this thing, which means this wheel collider has some kind of knowledge of how much it is rotated. So maybe I'm just missing the specific value. Let's see. What does the internet have? Wheel collider. Let's see. Oh, Unity has a documentation page called Wheel Collider Tutorial. It is horrendously out of date. The most recent version for it is 2017.4. That seems. Actually, no, there is newer versions. Okay, let's go on to the one we're on. I think we're on 2022. Yeah, there we go. Car route. Okay, yeah, this tutorial is exactly the same. Motor torque, steering angle, wheel collider. I want a visual for it. How do I know the current rotation of the wheel? Ah, here we go. Okay, so there's a thing called the get world pose. And this returns a position and a rotation. So we're going to do the first and most important immediate thing. Type that out, go into Unity, and see if Udon says that it's not exposed. Because it's a bit of a funky one. It's a function that has two out variables on it. Seems to be exposed. Nice. Alright. In that case, we can basically directly write that onto the wheel visual. Wheel visual dot set position and rotation will be pause watt. I'm going to change it to be rotation and position. Alright, so now if we go to each of our wheels, slap a instance of that component on it, we should just be good to go. Car wheel, BL will go to BL, BR, BR, FL, FL, and FR, FR. So let's see if that did anything for us, or if it just straight up didn't work for some reason. Yo, okay. That looks promising. Now, the visual is a little bit off to the side, but that's because that's just how I modeled it originally. So we're gonna have to do a little shift on that. I don't want this blender. I want to go to models, golf cart.blend. We'll open that up here. Don't need that. Close that. Alright. Behold, the golf cart. So, we'll just fix that. Bonk, bonk, bonk. We'll export with a Unity setting for vehicle. Save, head back. And now that should be the correct positions on that. Okay. Yeah, this all looks yeah. I'm curious though. What's going on here? Oh, my X offset is wrong for that. Why was it like that? Was this just an easy snapping point? No, because that's 0.7. Oh well. Alright, play. Let's go. Yeah, okay. This all seems to be working quite well. Alright. Next, let's set up some... oh, what should we do? I think it would be good to set up the actual model for the controls that will be used. Because that will give people a pretty good idea of how you actually use the vehicle. So, new bundle thing. We're going to have basically two controllers. One for the left hand, one for the right. And it's going to be pretty awful by by default. Because more than anything, I'm just trying to get this working at the moment. So let's just get this up and running. Alright, let's add a joystick and a trigger to this. Boom, boom, boom. Get out of your feet. Alright, and that's the joystick. This is awful, but it will work. I think I'll notch the sides in once more. So this will be the right one. The left one won't have the joystick. Parent both of these to the body. If I can click that, there we go. See, handle, trigger, joystick. Alright, we'll export that as joystick to our models folder. Go back into Unity. We got it right here. So this is going to be a little bit odd because we're basically going to be building out the VR tooling by pretending we're in VR. This would be our gun grip, which is just a component that forces a specific position and angle for the VRC pickup. Put in exact gun, set it to gun, auto detect, yes. We will need a box glider on that, and let's just set it to be kinematic. So yeah, that's going to sit in your hand basically like that while driving. I'm curious. If I child a kinematic rigid body. Yeah, okay, so that does just stay childed to this while it's moving. Whoop. Alright. A little bumpy. Okay. In that case, we want to only accelerate while this is being pressed. So let's go ahead and do scripts. Joystick. Car joystick. Let's see here. We could have the joystick riding to the car, or we could have... No, yeah, we're going to do that. On pickup, use down, and on pickup, use up. Serialized field for our car controller. Should I call that car or controller? I've been calling it controller, so I'll keep that up. We'll just have a serialized field for whether or not this is the left controller. So private bool. Left controller. Or no. Yeah, so right joystick. I don't think we'll actually need a float vector to range for accelerating and decelerating. I don't think we functionally have any platforms where we can get analog trigger feedback out of that. So I think it's just going to be fine to just have it be accelerating and reversing. ahead and remove that. Is accelerating, is reversing. And need this for sets reversing. We don't need these, so yeah, okay. So we'll do if right joystick controller dot set accelerating true, else controller dot set reversing false. Wait, no, true. Alright, just shorten that up here. And invert that for false. And we're going to basically copy the whole on pickup use up for drop. I think on pickup use up fires when you drop something, but I don't know that for certain. So we're just going to snag that and use it here as well. So let's see here. How do we want to indicate that? So we're going to be steering the stuff back and forth. I think instead of doing a bool in here, how do I do that? Because I don't want to have an unnecessary update loop on the left controller if the right one's the only one that'll ever need it. But actually, I don't think it will need it. So we'll just do our input move horizontal here. And we'll have a transform reference here for joystick there. Or I guess I'll just call this stick to help indicate it. How do we want to do that? Let's get a empty plane axis. This plane axis will be a parent for that. Set that there, empty is here. So that will give us a rotation to work on for that. So if we just go here and here, that gives us local rotations correctly. Awesome. So in that case, we just say stick.local rot. Can you just set local Euler angles? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so you have to give it a vector 3. You can't just set X, Y, or Z. Oh, so you can, okay. So instead of having to create a vector 3, you can just raw set all 3 values at once. So let's do 0, 0, and value times 45. That would be a good range left and right for the joystick being able to move around. The name acceleration range does not exist in the current context. Right. So we're going to, let's see, acceleration value. Move. Yeah, because I don't think we need our acceleration value anymore. Okay, yeah, we can just do okay. So we'll have a float here for our acceleration. We'll do acceleration value. No. If is accelerating. Acceleration value equals 1. Is D is braking. Okay, yeah. Well, minus equals 1. No, that's is reversing. Oh right, we want to go, and if these are both the case, then yeah. If is accelerating and is reversing, is braking, equals true. Actually, we can just straight up do that set here. Do the same thing in the set reversing function. Get our multiplication here. We actually only care about acceleration in this section here. So let's grab that here. We'll comment this out here for now because we'll be using this. Oh, we don't want move horizontal. We want to look horizontal for the joystick. This is because your look horizontal on a controller is the right joystick that you're moving around. On a PC, it's your mouse, which is annoying, but will let us test it to make sure it's working. But the big thing there is that it's not what your head is doing, which would be awful. All right. We'll go ahead and set that right here. Let's just go ahead and see if we can get this to work. Yeah, I don't think there's a great way to oh wait, I have a controller. What am I doing? Wait, does client sim work with the controller? Is this something you can do? Oh, okay. Maybe it doesn't. Okay, let's actually go ahead and log what this value is. So debug log value. That'll let us know what this is actually getting. So the question is the right joystick returning something legible, or is it just not returning anything? Oh my god, it's hard. Huh. According to the debug log, it seems to be a range of 2 to -2. Just very odd to me. But at the same time, this is checked. Okay. So if it's not the right joystick, we don't care about this. Stick.local Euler angles. Is this just, does this set just not work? Let's just do that. Maybe I just didn't understand how the set function on a vector 3 works. Okay. Seems to be working. Alright. It is backwards though, but that's a quick fix. So I'll just do negative value. And we'll swap that to times 30, because the value seems to be arranging of 2 to -2 instead of 1 to -1. I'm actually not sure why it would do that. Maybe it's just my controller. Okay. So we have that set. Now we need this to actually set the steering on here. So do set steering. Set steering of value. And if these wheels just slam to the sides, that might be a bit odd. Because if we're getting 2 out of this instead of 1, it's going to screw up some of my stuff. Well, we're certainly turning to the right. Sometimes. Okay, so if we're getting steering. okay, so steering value needs to be steering from range value. That's it. One thing that's probably not obvious, just in terms of watching this, is that for some reason my right stick likes to lose some inputs. Like I'm holding straight left, and like I move up and down, but it's basically given up on the left input. Yeah, okay. So if I move my left stick all the way to the left, client stim stops registering it. It's just the value is completely lost to 0. The issue does not happen going to the right. Okay, yeah. This is steering left and right perfectly fine. Now, we just need to lock that to VR players. So we'll have a reference for our joystick array VR controllers. Set a public void, set active, bool value, and we'll just wrap this for GameObject.setActive value. Fortunately, we know if the player is in VR immediately, but we don't want to toggle it then. We want to toggle it during the seated. So we'll do for each controller, controller.setActive. Actually, we can just cache this. Private bool is VR. And is VR will be set immediately after grabbing the local player. Alright, we will only enable those if A, you are setting yourself to be the seated player, and B, you are in VR. Otherwise, they are not active. I don't think we care about showing the controllers to other players, so this should be fine. Maybe in the future, I'll fiddle around with it to make it a bit more synced so people can use that. But again, we'll see how much people are actually interested in this kind of basic car system. Alright, I am going to take a quick pause to go use the bathroom. So I will be right back. Enjoy the... Oh, you had to step away for a bit? Well, I'm actually stepping away for 1 minute to go use the bathroom. I will be right back. Alright, un momento. All right, I'm back. I told you it would be 1 minute. But yeah, you didn't miss a whole lot. We got the controllers set up here, so we can start using that for actually accelerating and turning the vehicle for VR players. Of course, the controls are awful in desktop because, well, you kind of, it's based on the input look horizontal. So that is either A, moving the mouse left and right, which just doesn't work for this, or B, using the right joystick on a controller, which A, maybe 1% of VR chat desktop users use a controller, and B, it also turns your vision so you can't see where you're driving. So this is awful for desktop users, but works great in VR because it's just a joystick that you hold and then fiddle with your real controller. Desktop, however, we have to re-add support for. So basically did this here. Yeah, we'll swap that out because we actually have a cached is VR check. Input move vertical. Okay, so we don't have our acceleration range anymore. But we are just going to do set accelerating value. And reverse. Okay. Value greater than 0. Set D. Oop, reversing. There we go. Value less than 0. And we had an input jump handled here. Okay, so is braking. What we're actually going to do is just set both of these to be true so that it catches the other check that we're doing for our is braking handling. Oh, one thing that I need to figure out though. So this all needs to not do anything if you're not seated. And holding it. Okay. So private bool is held. On pickup is held is true, and on drop is held is false. So if it is not held, we don't want to do anything. We'll just return there. And we'll just have a getter for whether or not you're seated. So public bool is seated. Just return is seated. Have to restart your oh, okay. Wish you luck. Okay, so you shouldn't really be able to pick this up. We'll just loop through all these and set them to be false. we need a reference for the pickup on this. We'll just do a require component type of VRC pickup. Have a private VRC pickup. And we'll just get that during start. In that case, we probably don't care about the is held check because we could just do that with the pickup, but no reason not to cache it. Fewer externs, the better. So we're gonna try to force the player to drop it when it's set active, so drop. All right. So now we should be able to go in here, and the joystick should not turn on when I hit play or when I get into the seat. Then I should be able to control it completely normally as a desktop user. It did enable. But I do have my normal desktop controls. Oh, it's because I didn't add it to the array of joysticks. VR controllers. Alright, so now it's not there. Now I can drive around and control everything perfectly fine. Zoop. Okay, so accelerating, reversing. Input jump, okay. This needs to be that value. This will be is reverse. No, is. We want is braking held. So is braking held is true. Okay, so that'll handle the is braking check. Because it was undoing itself briefly while I... Yeah, okay, so what was happening was when I was doing this, input jump just set is braking held to value, and then it does this. But if it was true, and I pressed forward on one of these, and then released it, well, suddenly that was false, but the other one was still true from me having pressed the brakes. So I was getting some phantom inputs, essentially, which is not what we wanted. Okay, yep. So now if I move this over, you can see these little... actually, let me tab this over. Should get you a better view in the inspector. So we have the is seated, we have steering value, is accelerating, is reversing, is braking, and is braking held. I appear to have screwed. Oh, whoops. I was just setting it to be true. I wasn't setting it to the current value of the input. Oopsie poopsie. Alright. Now our brakes should work perfectly fine. Yep, okay. Plonk. Yeah, so this seems to work good. Nice. I'm actually going to adjust the geometry of the vehicle's collider a bit. We'll do instead of 1.2, height of 1.7, so that the bottom doesn't get caught as much. Nice, nice. Welcome back. Also, I may have set you to be a moderator when you left. Welcome back, newly moderated Lumilight. You indeed have a wrench. Oh no, I'm afraid of you using it. What have I done? Alright, so that should stop us from bonking weirdly on things. Front bumper. And we'll just have that, but on the back. Okay. Rear bumper. There we go. Bumper? Barely. No. Alright. These do look like they are slightly wider than the main collider body of the vehicle, though, so let's drop this to 1.8, 1.7, 1.6. There we go. Alright, so we have functional wheels, we have functional brakes, we have functional controls for VR users and for desktop users. I guess the controls for VR users are half implemented because the left controller hasn't been set up yet, but it should be fine. Just have to uncheck this. We can disable our joystick. So left controller. God, I'm using the word controller and joystick so interchangeably in this stuff. It's not a good thing. Right controller. The only reason I'm hesitant at all is because the thing that runs the car is the car controller, which I should probably just not call it that. Vehicle body. I'll do that. Because this isn't a car. This is a freaking golf cart. just go ahead and rename anything from car to vehicle. This might be a second. Alright, car, joystick, vehicle, controller. Body. Body. Vehicle, seat. Car wheel will be vehicle wheel. I could set up some like fancy tooling to not need a custom component for every one of the wheels, but at the moment I don't think it's too big of an issue. If someone ends up wanting like 30 of these in a world, then maybe it might be better to swap that over. I mean, yes, it would definitely be better, but vehicle wheel. Yeah, I guess we just head back into Unity and fix the rest of the names after it's done compiling. Alright, I guess I can just rename the roots to be vehicle. That'd be a good idea if I just have a custom station for this instead of the default one. Do a require component type of VRC station. Private VRC station. Station start. Station equals get component. So we'll just grab that there. Then on interact. Interact. It's not on interact. It's just interact. Station dot use station. Oh, we need to pass a local player. So we'll have a VRC player API. Local player. Local player equals networking dot local player. And we can just stick that in here. So now let's also just go ahead and unpack this prefab. So we're going to drop that from it. It's like here. Driver's seat. This glider does not need to be this big, but at the same time, I don't know what the visual is yet. Why can't I clear that value? Oh, okay. I guess the inspector is just a little bit wonky on it. Oops. Hope that's not my fault. Have a 0.1, I guess. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 0.5. Alright, a few more references we have to fix after the great renaming. We have our left controller. Left and right controllers both need a updated reference to the body. The bumpers need to be actually, yeah, hold on. Am I getting this wrong? Okay, yeah, so I bump into the vehicle. If that's the case, I'm probably going to want to not have it be... Well, can I... I guess walkthrough is really the best one. But... I wonder if walkthrough is fine for interacts. Because I'm not having it be a... It's not a... Oh lord, what just happened? Is it colliding with itself? Yeah, so they're not trigger colliders, so I don't think you'll get the trigger interact issues that you'll have. But I think also at the same time, didn't VRC just announce that they fixed a big thing with overlapping colliders? Well, not really. Alright, well, back to the mirror reflection layer they go. Yeah, I just don't want to accidentally be walking up on them. Is primarily why these bumper ones here exist. But yeah, leaving that on mirror reflection should be fine. Alright. I guess now the question is, does this do anything in VRChat proper? Let's give a second seat to this. So let's just do a donk. Passenger seat. Oh, but we don't want this one to actually do that. We'll just have a bool for it. Bool is driver. If is driver is false, return. All right. Vehicle tester. Capture image. Good enough. Or maybe I'll do it from here. There we go. So we'll do a build and test with 2 clients, which does mean that I have to swap over to my display capture instead of my auto switch, because we're going to be launching 2 VR chats. Might take a second because this is the first time that this Unity project is ever built for VR chat. Fortunately, it's a pretty small project. There's hardly anything in here except a couple models and 4 scripts. Alright, dock that up there, there. We already had a null error fence. So that would be... Okay, so we'll just have to have an init check on here. If initialized to return. If not initialized, just run start. Not that that affects this at all, because that's for the that thing, yeah. So I'll get in as the driver. So the right one is currently the one controlling it, which is not correct. In fact, the left one has seemingly no control whatsoever. How did I screw that up? Alright, vehicle seat, use station, right. Set seated to be true. If true, local player owns the game object. Is this just a weird thing with local tests? Or is seated being set anywhere else that I need to fix? Should just be set through the seat, right? On station entered. Oh, is this a public event? Because I was pretty sure that on station entered was a local event. But it would make sense that if the player observed someone entering a station, Okay, well, that's interesting. Let's head back into Unity here and rebuild. Alright, so if I get in here, Oh, I should have vehicle control. Okay. And if I get into this seat, I shouldn't have any vehicle control, but this one should still be able to pilot us around. Alright, I'll definitely have to make a better syncing solution for this, I see. You can see that already. I'll also need a... I'll also need a button that actually... What's this? That was interesting. I also need a button that actually lets you leave the seat. Alright. Yeah, that's working out quite well. So I need to come up with some kind of physics sync for this. And I have 15 minutes to do it. Alright. Vehicular manslaughter. Yeah. Oh no. Oh no. Alright. Well, let's get the vehicle syncing fixed. Should I just have the wheels sync their momentum and on collision enter sync the position and rotation of the vehicle itself? Would, oh my god, would this actually be a reasonable use for continuous sync? I've never liked the idea of continuous sync, but if all we're syncing essentially is a couple bools and a vector 3 essentially for the resulting position, I think this should be fine. Oh my god, will that be fine? That's terrifying. I haven't used continuous sync in forever. Okay, let's see it. So we're going to swap this to continuous. We're going to set these to be put on synced. We don't need seated to be synced. We need is braking or roofing accelerating. Yeah. So then we'll have a vector 3. Position. You want to sync that smooth on that? Yeah, I think that would work. Oh man, this might just work. I weirdly don't like that. Continuous sync was always just a horrible gotcha trap of watching your networking just dissolve itself. But this might be fine. Huh. Oh, we need to store the rotation as well. I'll do that as a vector 3. Hmm. I'll do it as a quaternion. Since we're trying to do the smooth syncing on it. Okay. Let's go into play mode and see if it panics because of network IDs. Well, it's certainly complaining about something. Was the issue that its rotation was exactly nothing, and thus the quaternion was complaining that it was genuinely nothing? I'll give it a Y rotation of 0.01. Surely that will resolve it. Wait, no. I get it. So it's not that, it's this value here. I should be checking less is seated, more is owner. But I don't want to grab is owner all the time, so let's do is owner and cache it during on ownership transferred. Is owner equals player dot is local. And just to make sure it runs at all, we'll do local player dot is owner game object. And we will check that here. This is gonna be a good. There we go. Alright, Unity. Yeah, everything seems fine. In that case, let's build and reload. So, it's going to reboot us here pretty shortly. Well, it's certainly looking funny. What is happening here? Is it because of the smooth option I set on this? I actually never used that before, so it might just not be good. Come on, Unity. Let me in. Let me in. Alright, last 8 minutes. Do we get the syncing for vehicles perfect? Surely not. However, well, to give it a shot here. No, that in fact looks quite bad. Yeah, so that's being delivered about 4 times a second, which is normal continuous sync. So I guess we could do smoothing with that. Yeah, okay. So instead of doing that, we will what's one of the lerping systems that has like a time thing? Is that a smooth damp? Something that has a velocity. Position equals vector 3 smooth damp. Yeah, that is a velocity. We got position, sync position. But that velocity only matters because of individual times when it's changing. Maybe we drop our custom position sync and just use continuous sync for these. Then we use object sync for the rest of it. Feels like a waste to use continuous sync for 3 bools and a float. May have to refactor the hierarchy of this then. Alright, well, let's drop a object sync back on it. And that'll give us a good enough option for now. VRC object sync. I won't check force kinematic on remote yet. If it still looks bad, okay, yeah, network ID failure. All right, that makes sense. We need to fix that with the utilities. Network ID, select that. Close. Build and reload. Okay. Well, it's certainly looking better than my implementation. But we're still not getting the rotations for the wheels passed over. Look at our stuff here. We have 3 minutes. I might as well start shutting her down, but position so this wheel collider is being dictated over here. Fixed update. Steering angle, steering. Yeah, we should probably have that here as well for his ownership check. But This should still be running. That should still be writing to the wheels. Let's see if that ownership check was the only thing that was giving us problems. And if not, I'll call it here for a day. Do the last little bit here of getting this up and going. Yeah, I figured syncing would be the hardest thing that you could possibly do with a vehicle for VR chat. Yeah, like the wheels steer. They just don't rotate. I'm curious as to why. Because if we're looking at this, the wheels are rotating. Where is this? Actually, I'm not screwing up anything up here, am I? No. Yeah. So for each of our wheels, we're setting their motor torque here. So the steering is working. The front motor torque and this is acceleration. Acceleration is acceleration value. Which is a combination of is accelerating and is reversing, which is a synced value. So when the owner sets it, they should be sending that off, yeah. Alright. Well, problem for another day. But yeah. This has been quite fun to just like play around with a little car system, especially with the idea of making something relatively basic. Like there's a lot of cars in VR chat that are very complicated vehicles, and I think they don't need to be. I think you can have little arcade fun tools. That's one of the big things. Like I really like working on things for VR chat that is building a basic tool that people can use in many scenarios. A lot of the big Udon creators for a lot of stuff, or even just big world creators in general, build very purpose-built things. And I like things that everyone can use and have fun with. Silly, simple, fun things are good. Yes, Lumi, like very, very much so. Very much agree on that one. But yeah, this has been fun. If I can get some of the syncing stuff figured out, I'll probably just toss this up on Patreon and see what people think of it. Yeah, it's great seeing everyone. As a note for anyone listening, I'll probably be swapping in the future to just Thursday streams instead of, oh, actually I have a thing for this. There we go. I'll probably be swapping in the future to just Thursday streams instead of Tuesday, Thursday. Just schedule-wise, I think it makes a bit more sense. But yeah, so I'll probably do up a notification on that here shortly and update some stuff. But yeah, it was great seeing everyone who stopped by. I know that Lumi was the only one in chat, but I know based on my stats here that there's 4 of you hiding out there. But yeah, thanks. But yeah, it'll be great seeing you, and see y'all next time on Thursday next week. But until then, it was great. I'll see you next time.